Morale in the federal system is as low as I've seen it in years. People are expected to perform the duties of 2, 3, sometimes 4 other staff because of shortages. We are asked to handle violent inmates and terrorists and are investigated by an inspector general who seems gleeful at attacking us. We are vacating correctional posts left and right to save money. BOP is planning on contracting out our security at outside hospitals and for the contracting out of normal federal prison operations. While the inmate population has increased by 29,000 new inmates, inmate employment in FPI has actually decreased by 3,000 jobs in the same period.
AFGE Council of Prison Locals Legislative Coordinator Phil Glover, who for years have fought to improve the safety and security of the nation's Federal Bureau of Prisons, recently testified on Capitol Hill to address the critical situation inside the BOP.
We have to house these inmates, we have to house them securely and humanely, and when the ceilings are coming down, the administration and the Congress has cut our building and facilities budget by $255 million. From $325 million in 2004 to $70 million in 2006. Many of these funds were used to upgrade facilities using inmate work crews. Now they sit idle. After this bill passed last year, to my knowledge, no one went to the Appropriations Committee and asked for additional funding to program for money for these programs. We would love to build items for the underprivileged. However, we have to pay the staff and for the materials to do so. And of the competition, the furniture industry, who is one of the main elements of all this, they've increased profits without these changes to FPI by large margins. It has also been reported that Steelcase doubled its use of suppliers in low-cost countries last year, and see attached articles in my testimony. It seems to me a win-win would be to partner with FPI, and the items sent out of the country could be brought back to us. We could partner with these companies and help each other. Inmates could learn their business under apprenticeships, and then perhaps get hired in these production facilities here in the United States. We could do that with any business that is struggling against the pressure of outsourcing or outsourcing overseas. This may decrease their shipping costs. It would increase inmate employment and helping prison workers. Members of the committee, I want to thank you for inviting me today, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Glover.
Great to see you today, and welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill, right down the street from the United States Capitol building, here in the shadow of the dome. Speaking of our good union brothers and sisters, we're proud to welcome another good union brother to the studio this morning, and maybe their former president, Phil Glover, joining us in studio this morning. Hi, Phil. Good to see you.
Morning, Bill.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You know, we get hit pretty hard with how we handle federal prisons, and we have a lot of outside groups that criticize what we do. But I can tell you that as a union, we have asked for more funding for building so that we don't have the crowding. We've asked for, we've supported a bill, S-1410, with Senator Durbin, Senator Leahy, and Senator Lee out of Utah, actually, who have co-sponsored a bill called the Smart Sentencing Act to try to lower crowding. And some of these other initiatives that the Attorney General has put forward to try to limit how they prosecute, those kind of things. We have supported all of that.
Well, as the prison population has grown, has the number of correctional officers grown?
No. As a percentage, no. That's where we've lost over the years. Instead of keeping pace, we've been outmatched, basically.
And what does that mean in terms of your workload, number one, and your safety, number two?
Well, we've seen increases in assault rates. We had an officer murdered last year in Canaan, Pennsylvania. Eric Williams was murdered by an inmate alone in a housing unit. He was working with 130 high security inmates by himself on an evening shift. And he was
So one person responsible for 130 inmates?
Yes. And actually at some facilities that's worse. That's not beyond the scope. We've had that for many years.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
I mean,
and we really are trying to control this situation with the number of inmates that we have, the facilities. We have over 40 facilities that are over 50 years of age. And so we have places that are falling down around us as we try to maintain it. And then Congress gives us a budget of $90 million a year to do maintenance and repair, which is impossible. I mean, you could take that and spend it on 2 or 3 prisons. Let's say Lewisburg, for instance, in the middle of Pennsylvania, which is an old facility.
Yeah.
So we're always under the gun on these kind of things.
And are you armed?
No. We carry no firearms inside the facilities. And we do have some perimeter patrol and some towers. But other than that, inside the facilities, we don't. We have initiated a pepper spray. It would be surprising to you that the mall cops have pepper spray and officers inside a federal prison don't. So we are just now starting to get that inside some federal prisons.
Do you?
Now, while the partial shutdown continues, some federal workers are showing up because they're required to, and we're going to hear now from one of them, Phil Glover, a corrections officer at the Johnstown Federal Prison in southwestern Pennsylvania. He's been in Washington this week lobbying members of Congress for pay for himself and his colleagues. Mr. Glover is also a regional vice president for the Council of Prison Locals Union, and he sat down with our colleague David Green to talk about how his efforts on Capitol Hill have been received so far.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Charles Showalter. You're listening to the Union Edge Labor's Talk Radio, broadcasting live on WPYT 660 AM Pittsburgh, WFYL 1180 AM Philadelphia, and streaming across the Working Family Radio Network. To find out more about us in the program, go to WFRNlive.com. That's WFRNlive.com. First on the program today, we've got Phil Glover, who is with the American Federation of Government Employees, and he is a member or an employee of the Bureau of Prisons. Phil, welcome to the Union Edge Talk Radio Show, brother.
Hey, Charles, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just as a little bit of a note of disclaimer, Phil and I have worked together probably, Phil, more years than you and I care to remember, as both members of the law enforcement community, as members of the American Federation of Government Employees. Phil, tell us a little bit about AFGE and the Council for the Bureau of Prisons.
This is a sample of my work since the early 1990s. I continue to be passionate about working for our union and for federal employees.